Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Umar Freed Khan podcast. Today I'm joined by my friend Haian. Haian, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, of course, anytime.
We have been trying to do this for over a year now, and we finally made it happen. How wild is that?
Well, it's been a while and I haven't seen you on campus a lot, so I'm glad we got to do it.
Yes, yes. One thing I noticed about you that I think was really cool, and I'm not sure how you pulled this off exactly, but you never seem to be in a rush anytime I meet you. You're just like free flowing in the moment, and yeah, you just never seem to be in a rush. How do you have that kind of energy? What's that all about?
Mm, I don't know how to answer this because there are times where I am in a rush, and obviously I do feel stressed just like any other human being. But when I'm when I'm genuinely like on my own, I like to do my own things. I like to explore places. I like to go other I like to go on adventures with a lot of my friends. And I feel like when you have a perfect balance between, doing your duties, studying and relaxing, that's when you live your best life. So I never feel like I am in a rush when I'm relaxing. If I guess that's just the times when you meet me, when I'm just doing my own thing. I'm just doing whatever I want to do. So, um, I mean, it all comes down to your assumptions of what you want your life to be. If you want, if you want a good and healthy life, then obviously you need to have a balance between relaxation and doing work. So, I mean I never skip out on 8 hours of sleep a night. I feel like it's very important. I really aspire to be a morning person as well. I'm still working on that. But I feel like as long as we keep these habits really close to us, we can always be the best person of ourselves. So that's just how it is. Mm. And maybe in the moment you feel stressed, but then after it's over, you think, well, I should have been more relaxed. I should have taken some days off from work. So I never want to feel that sort of regret when I'm not doing something that I should be
I think I
doing.
want to rephrase it a little bit because
Yeah.
I like your response. I like your response. But what I noticed about you every time I encounter you is you never seem to be chasing anything. And I think that's the thing that I'm like, wow, I don't know how she does it. That's the sort of like energy I see around you.
Chasing, of course I have goals. Of course I believe like people should obviously work
Or I
towards
guess
them
more so like
actively.
forcing things,
Hmm.
kind of like making your way into it. Like you just seem to be doing your own thing. And if something happens to come your way, it happens to come your way. But you wouldn't rush it. You wouldn't chase it. You wouldn't go out of your way. You just kind of like free flow.
Mm, I try to be like that for the most part, but that's not to say like I haven't been stressed, I haven't been worried over something, but I can see what you mean. Sometimes when we force things to come to us, it actually ends worse than how we expected. So I feel like once you detach and let go for a bit, you kind of attract the things that you want to come into your life, you know? Like I wasn't
Yes.
expecting to meet you at all, but then coincidentally, I was like, huh, I haven't met Omar in quite a while. And then you actually showed up. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And that word that you use, I think that's the word. You have like a detached presence about you. You just seem so detached in the world out there, which is so interesting. How did you come to be
Hmm.
that way?
Um, Trial and error, I guess. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm sure nobody else is perfect. And I can't say that I'm always detached from the moment, but it sometimes you just have to trust the process. You have to trust yourself. And, even if things don't go your way, you have to learn how to forgive yourself for your mistakes. So it's just like that. And generally, in my experience, when I do let go and I do detach for a bit, I a lot of the things that happen in my life, they don't tend to affect me as much. Well, a lot of the bad things. So like let's say like, oh, my car broke down, which it actually did like a month ago. Yeah, it stopped working, but I had people that actually came into my life that helped me with that. So I don't know. I feel like once you stop obsessing, you find the right answers. Or they come to you naturally. It just happens.
Yeah, I'm sure there's always the human temptation to come back to obsessing, where something might kind of catch your eye, like, oh wait,
I
like let
mean,
me, yeah.
why do you think that is, Omar?
I think trusting the process is such a beautiful, amazing thing. But I'm not entirely sure because I feel like when that happens, it's because maybe you're losing a little faith in trusting the process. I think it's
Yeah, I
something like
mean,
that.
mm, sometimes people obsess because, I mean, of course they really want something and they think that it'll make their life better. Like they want more money and they want a bigger house, things like that. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, does more money make you happier? Or is it just the things that come with money? And sometimes the things that we thought we wanted in the first place, they ended up not making you, as happy as you wanted to be. And I feel like part of part of a flourishing life is enjoying the journey to get to your goals as well. It's not just the obtainment of whatever you want to achieve. So it's
Yeah,
always a lifelong learning process. And I
it
think
always
that needs
is.
to be appreciated much more because I know several people throughout college that, they just want the degree and because they think that with the degree, they can get a good job and that would lead to a happy life. You see, they're always looking at the next step and the next step after that, stressing over it and not, enjoying their college years and making the most of it with their friends. So,
Yes, yes. I love how you mentioned that. Sometimes when we come to that realization where we thought we wanted something and then we realize we don't really want that, it can be a reality shattering experience. And then you kind of just sit
mm-hmm,
there in a fetal state, like, oh my God, I have to
mm-hmm,
change the way I perceive XYZ. And it hurts, but it's also incredibly hopeful because you transform in that, you evolve.
mm-hmm. And, like that's not to say like you can't encounter um bad scenarios, but I mean I have received multiple rejections from like internships and jobs, but none of that has deterred me once. As long as you just keep persisting in what you want to achieve, you can always do it. Like I genuinely don't think that anything is impossible as long as you put your mind through it.
Yeah. You know how you're talking about it's always like a lifelong learning thing. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like rejection is like that too, because I've been
Mm-hmm.
rejected from so many different things in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
you'd think with all this thick skin, it just couldn't hurt you anytime it happens again. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how thick your skin is, it's still going to bother you just a little bit. And that's a beautiful
Mm,
thing because it's proof that you're a human being.
in the moment, it will. And it's always natural to feel sad or angry or frustrated, of course, but you can't always linger on the past for too long. When I got rejected from a bunch of jobs, I ended up getting a higher paying job that's near my house. And that was like a general, a good workplace with good coworkers. So everything kind of sorted it out in the end. It just came from all of these rejections back to back. So,
Yeah. Another thing I like how you mentioned was that whole thing about the college journey and how everybody's so invested in the next step that they kind of miss out on the experience in the moment. Have you ever found yourself getting caught up in that? And if you did, have you broken out of it?
mm, Like thinking of the future too much. I mean, sure, I wasn't always like this. Like in high school, I used to stress myself out a lot, but I'm no longer in that mind state, so I can't. I mean, I just can't. In a way, like yeah, I think of my past self and I see them as like another person, right? So like the times where I'm living now, I feel like I'm a completely different person from where I was like even 2 years ago. Because I have new experiences, I have new memories, um I have a new mindset towards everything, and I'm always striving to improve and become the best that I can.
I heard from a professor once that who we are in the present, who we are in the past, and who we are in the future, it's all a community of ourselves. We're a community. And what we do now is for the sake of the community that's coming after us, who we are in the future. Which I thought was like a really interesting way of putting it. The community of ourself. Because like
A
you said, we're just
community.
different people, you know?
Mm, yeah, we are different people, you know.
In the moment.
When I first met you, I'm not the same person now than I was, like a year ago even. So,
Yeah.
I
What do you
feel
think
like
has
when we
been
have these sorts of discussions, we're always bringing something new to the table every time, and that's
yeah.
great.
What do you think's been the biggest transformation for you as a person in the past year since I met you?
Mm, I don't think I can say there was one singular moment that transformed me. Obviously, I feel like that's a bit dramatic. I mean realistically, I think each of us we're always transforming in every moment, every second of our lives. And it's more of an accumulation of all of those moments that, make you the person that you are today.
Yeah. What you said reminds me of the image of a mandala. It's like,
Really.
yeah, because just so many different things combined into one, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever created
Mm,
one of those?
no, I haven't, but I do like them. They're quite pretty.
Are they relevant in Vietnamese culture?
Yes and no. I mean, it's not as often as you think. I feel like, I guess if they're Buddhist, then sure, but it would come down to religion rather than culture. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I remember you and me have had some really cool conversations on Buddhism as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you feel about it? What do you think of the religion?
I think it's very interesting. One of the things that I wanted to mention about it, I don't know if I ever shared this with you actually, but I remember learning that the Buddha was always represented by a lotus flower for like centuries. And it wasn't until the Greeks came to India that they started to make statues and images of him. And so, like, the first statue of the Buddha is made by the Greeks and he's guarded by Hercules, which I thought was just so fascinating.
Bro, I don't even know that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it was the Greeks. They
Need to
started
catch up
creating
on some
Buddhas.
history.
Yeah, it
But
was cool stuff.
I like the statues. I like the paintings. I don't think too much of them, you know? Um, and I I mean I've never met someone who doesn't like they are after all just statues. So there is a time and a place for them. And I mean in 1,000 years from now they might be there, they might be not. Oh well. I can't really say that all religions survive. After all, we all die in the end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Speaking of that, actually, there was like a tornado yesterday. How was that for you?
Yes, sir. It was actually not that bad. There was like a small power outage, and my fence flew over, but that's okay because the neighbors are paying half of it. But other than that, it was all good. I wish I could say the same for others, though they might have had more dire consequences.
Yeah. It almost took away my
A lot
cat.
of flooding. Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is real. I was out in that storm. I was outside. I was like,
Uh-huh.
I can't believe I'm here. It felt like a movie scene. It was insane. Yeah. It also reminded me of
Mm,
like the freeze. I don't know if you were in Houston like a few years ago when that freeze was going on.
I was. I remember that
That
very
that
well.
was a different me. That was a different life.
That was a different you. I was in, I was in high school back then.
Wow. Do you
And I
remember that time
remember,
though?
yes, I do. I remember my dad was trying to put on the generator, and then my siblings and I were throwing snowballs at each other in the front yard.
Man, that was a good fun time. I
We
mean,
did not take it
it was
serious at all.
yeah. I remember I got so sick, but like I really enjoyed it because there was no lights, there was no power, and you just kind of sit in front of the fireplace and you just think, or you read a book, or you just like lay down. It was
Yeah,
like
I need that
a
social
sobering
media detox.
experience. Yeah, yeah. What do you
Hmm.
make of social media? I'm not sure I've ever like actually talked to you about that.
Mm, well, I think it's mostly a waste of time unless you're capitalizing it and using it for good reasons. Like, for example, if you're using social media to promote your organization or what you're trying to be like, well, anything relating to like policy, policy activism, or anything you're trying to like get the word out for, advocate for, social media can be used for good things. But other than that, everything else is a waste of time. And if you're not learning anything from it, then there's no point. So I try to stay away from it for the most part, unless it's to promote my organization. But other than that, yeah, no. And I like to keep my life private. I don't like to share photos. I feel like it's just, you stay away from the big cameras and you get to live your peaceful life. There's no drama happening behind closed doors. So
Something I always ask people that don't use social media is how do you keep up with all the friends you make? Because for me, I have a lot of extroverted tendencies. I like to consider myself a social butterfly. And I think the beauty in social media is that it allows me to keep in touch, so to speak, with all the people I get to meet. So I wonder what it's like for someone like you, who I think is also somewhat extroverted. But how do you keep in touch with all these
I
people
think
that you
I'm
meet?
I think I'm in the middle, but well, for the most part, if I want to contact someone, I'll just text them or call them. I'm quite old school with that. Um, but I mean, unless I don't really know them, then I guess I would use social media to like reach out to somebody. But other than that, I mean, I feel like you get the same, if not more, the amount of contact if you just text them or call them, rather than using social media.
Mhm. It seems like it's another one of those detachment things, huh? Like, oh, if it comes around, it comes around.
Mm, yeah, I guess it kind of depends on your relationship with the person and what you are trying to get from it. But yeah,
When you lose touch with someone, does it concern you? Like, God damn, like, we're not in touch anymore. Or are you like, oh, okay, just kind of happened.
it's hard to say. I've lost touch with quite a bit of people. I mean, a lot of my friendships did not end up the way I wanted them to, and we left on bad terms, actually. So it's more of a I don't, I don't have any inclination to reach out to them anymore. Obviously they needed to grow a bit, and I'll leave them to that. So I would say I don't have any regrets. I don't really look back on the past too much. Like, sure, I can have some, nostalgia in there, and I can look at our old photos, but nothing like that bothers me now because I have new friends now, and I have new people that make my life better. So,
Yeah, I love how
and
you say that.
the people like you whom I only talk to like once a semester or so, like I'm sure we can talk again. And you're always free to call or text me, of course. So,
Yeah, and I really like how you mentioned this because that's something that I'm realizing more and more now. It is so hopeful and so beautiful, the prospect of meeting new people. I've
and we will
always
always
loved that.
meet new people.
Yes, I've always loved that, but I've been seeing it in a different light now because say you know a bunch of people, but you just don't feel like you fit in with them anymore. You just don't feel like you're part of that circle or that everything just seems, I don't know, you feel ostracized in a way. Well, great. You just get up and move on and you just meet new people. And at some point you'll find folks like, wow, this is amazing. I feel
Indeed.
welcomed here, you know?
You got to connect with those who are on your same frequency. So sometimes we do grow apart from people because they no longer share our same interests or our same values, and that's okay. We don't have to force, a friendship or a partnership if we don't have to. Um, but that is how it was for me. I genuinely I would say I had a lot of ex-friends and you know, you could talk to me now and think like, "Oh, I'm such a calm person." But there were times in my friendships where I had genuine fights with a lot of my ex-friends. And that was because at the time, I guess, not just like they were immature, but I could have been immature at the time too. And um a part of that, it just makes you grow as a person. So, and I've learned to like forgive myself for a lot of my mistakes, and that's okay. But yeah, sometimes people change for the worst, and sometimes you move on faster than they do, and you grow faster than they do. It's okay because everybody grows at their own progression and um, their own interests.
Great point. I know there's many answers that can be given to what I'm about to say, but I'm just curious to get a perspective from you. What do you think is the balance between not forcing a friendship or a connection and at the same time still being intentional about wanting to befriend someone? Because sometimes I think the lines can be blurred between intentionality and forcing things.
Forcing a friendship? I don't know how you can force a friendship. Like
Or like
maybe
you
like a
attempt to,
business
you
partnership.
know? Like I feel like everybody's run into someone that's like just forcing things. It's like, oh, like you said it
Mm,
earlier, like sometimes it just creates a worse result. Like they just don't want to be friends with you because you keep forcing it.
I don't see I I don't see how you could force a friendship. Like maybe if you were like super desperate to be friends and you're like talking to everybody in your class, like I guess that was how a lot of us freshmen were in college. But then those friendships never lasted long either because you realize that you can't get along with everybody. You're not on the same page with everybody. So there's a lot of trial and error for it, and that's okay. I can see like forcing a business partnership or like something that gives you mutual benefit, but then turns out like it wasn't as beneficial as you thought. So I mean, sometimes it just happens. I wouldn't get too bogged down over it.
Yeah. Alan Watts, he once had a
Mm,
quote, muddy water is best cleared left alone, or something like that. And I
mhm,
really like that quote. And when it comes to forcing things, that's something I refer back to. Like if you've kind of made a mess of things, just leave it alone for some time and it'll clear.
mhm. I think friendship comes from, genuine interests and shared values. Yeah, none of my friendships I've actively forced. That's such a weird thing. But yes, I
But you,
do
you
agree
do
with
see the
you that
perspective I'm saying. Like people try to
hmm
force things sometimes. It's happened to me so many
hmm
times where people are like forcing a conversation. I'm like, hey, I'm not feeling this, man. I said, like 10 times, you know?
I mean like it could just be
Yeah.
small talk. A lot of us do small talk
What do you think
to
of
keep
small talk?
small talk. It's okay. I like small talk. I
I
like
like small
I like
talk
long
too.
talks too.
Yeah, me too. Both of those. But I think small talk is so powerful because it's just so in the moment. It's like the spur of the moment. It's great. It's like, oh hey, how's it going? And then you just move on. It's awesome.
Keeps the vibes going. It doesn't make things awkward. Um, I know a lot of people hate small talk, but I don't mind it. I mean, if it's just a hi, hello, how are you doing? It can make someone's day be better, and you move on. I
Yeah.
don't think it's such a big of a deal.
Do you think you don't strike me as someone who takes things personally, but then mentioning all these, instances of ex-friends, what do you make of it? Do you take things personally or no?
Personally, like, do I have regrets or like guilt? No.
No, no, like do you take things personally? Like, oh man, this person said or did this, and I took it personally.
No, I try not to. I try not to get offended over little things. I feel like, if too many things cloud your headspace, then you can't really think properly, and it messes with your environment and messes with how you do things in the real world, your actions, how you treat other people. So I try not to let those small things bother me as much or anymore. I mean, I don't feel any sort of guilt or regret towards my past friendships. Oh,
If you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to get specific, but do you think any of your friends ruined the friendship because they took things personally?
yeah, of course, people sometimes will take things personally. They'll get really offended. I mean, we
Many
used to
times.
fight
Many
over,
times they'll take things
I
personally.
mean, a lot of my friends or ex-friends, I guess, we would fight over small minuscule things and they would never move on from those arguments. Like even if I did and they just never did. And I genuinely like now I'm like thinking about it. I don't even remember what we even like argued about. We just like got into fights. So and some friends just decided to not talk to me anymore. I never got an explanation to why, but it was just like a forever ghost. That was how it is. Um, but yeah.
The forever ghost. How does that make you feel?
Well, during the moment, I was a bit confused and yeah, just confused, frustrated, maybe a little bit sad. But now I'm moved on past that for the most part. I've I have way better friends now, so there that sort of stuff that doesn't bother me anymore.
Time heals all, eh?
Mm, yeah, for sure.
Do you have any questions for me?
Mm. How's your past semester been?
Yes, I remember we talked about this a little bit
Because I haven't caught
on
up with you
campus.
in quite a while.
Yeah, it was nice. The last few months were nice because last like couple months, month and a half, because I met some incredible people in in Oregon. I was like, wow, that's so cool that so the whole school year just felt really dry for me socially. I felt like I met
Mm.
so many different people and I would try to like get to know them and be like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" But so many of them, time after time, were just not reciprocating the energy. And I was just kind of like, what's going on here? Am I like playing the wrong cards or something?" It just confused me so much. Not everyone, of course. Like there were some great people that did reciprocate, but there's just so many where they were just not giving the energy back, and it just confused me. So socially, it was incredibly dry. But yeah, the past month and a half, past couple months, I met some awesome people that were reciprocating the energy, and it was hopeful. Like that thing I told you about, where if you don't feel like you fit in or vibe with the group, just get up and leave and go find new people. And eventually you'll find them. And I found them and I was like, wow, this is so cool. This prospect of meeting all these new people. So it ended on a high note.
I'm glad to hear that, Omar. Yeah, sometimes, you go a long way after not talking to um some people from the past. and it makes you reflect on a lot of things, you know? And that's okay. That's okay if they don't reciprocate your same efforts. Um, I'm glad that you met new people in your life and uh you're obviously, a well-evolved person now than you were back then. I mean, you were quite wise back then too, but I'm saying like you're way more like mature and evolved in the sense where you look like you have it together now. Because back then I remember I was meeting you and you seemed kind of wondering, about your future career and like the next path to take and where should we go after? And I saw that you changed your whole career trajectory altogether. So that's really nice that you have things all together.
Yeah. No, well,
You
thank
know
you for the
what you
kind
want.
words. Do you think a person ever fully knows what they want?
It depends. It depends. I mean,
It
some
always
people
does,
they
doesn't
take
it?
they take a well, they always look at like some people have a, lifelong passion that they're always working towards and they never change that. And some they do change their goals. That's perfectly fine as long as we're always working for something that makes us happy, and that's okay. Um, Other than that, I mean, there's not much to say on this.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the last 5 minutes or so of this conversation. I'm curious, Haiyan, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say but you didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
Mm, Not in particular. I mean, I could tell you how my semester went.
Go for it.
Yes. Well, I didn't know you were at that SGA meeting, by the way. I was very surprised when you texted me. My semester actually was the opposite of yours. That's not that there weren't, bad moments too. Like obviously there were moments where I wasn't feeling okay and I got sick, but that was just something so minor. I don't even remember it anymore. Um, but I met a couple of people that were really, really good and they spurred me to action and to working for my goals. Um, so socially, I guess my semester wasn't dry at all, and I was actually caught in the loop with being so busy and doing things left and right that I kind of forgot to make time for myself some days. But now that it's summer, I get the chance to relax and go do calls like this with you. So,
Yeah.
mm,
I'm glad that we finally were able to make this happen. It was cool. Yeah,
after a year.
yeah, but the interesting thing is there's like so many folks where this just keeps happening where it's like, hey, welcome. We've been trying to do this for a long time. And it's like, yeah, there's just so many people. It's like we've been meaning to do it for a long time. And then eventually it happens. But the nice thing about it is like it's not rushed. Just it happens in the right time, like this. Like there's the right time for it?
There's a right time and place for everything. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't feel that way in the moment, but you look back and think, oh, this event actually made me do this and made me think of this, and that spurred me to this action. And, maybe we could have saw it in an earlier moment, but we might have not reacted the same way, you know? Like if I
Yeah.
had met you earlier, I I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have been your friend. Who knows? But I'm glad I met you in college. I'm definitely more evolved now than I was, say like 2 years ago or even a year ago.
Yeah. It's we can never predict these things. But of course it always depends, eh? I feel like that's the answer for like every question I ever ask or is ever asked. It depends. More or less. Yeah.
Mm,
So is this it? Is this the end? Any other thoughts?
That's interesting. You say that, Omar, that it depends. I mean, in a sense, it does depend on your outlook in your life, and my life's a little bit different from yours. So, however you assume your life to be, that's how it is. And however I assume my life to be, well, that would be how it is too. And a lot of times I can't say like, oh, well, you can't predict the future. That's not entirely true because a lot of the things that you're doing now have an immediate effect on the future. So, like, it just depends. I guess yes, I can say that it depends on the assumptions that you make about your life. Some people they never turn around and they keep thinking that their life is never going to progress for the better. And then it really doesn't because their thinking affects their actions and their actions affect the environment around them. So,
Yeah. Well, hopefully we are net positive people. But yeah, thanks again,
always
Haiyan.
assume the best. Hmm.
Yes, yes. Thank you again for being here. I enjoyed this
Of
conversation.
course. It
I
went by
suppose,
really fast.
I know, right? I
It
suppose
went
until
by
next
super
time, right?
fast. Of
Yeah.
course. You can invite